All right, ladies and gentlemen, I've been talking to you for about, I don't know, 44 minutes, give or take. Think, for the first people in the front rows, what have I said that can help you in preparing and presenting your powerful programs? But you remember the rules. One sentence. Learn to edit your words. Any hands, any takers? Good. I can see someone giving me the finger here. I'm sure it was several fingers, but in the dark it's difficult to see.
Life is a series of sales situations.
Wonderful. And you'll notice on your sheet that one thing it says is repetitive refrains. If you want people to say, every speaker on the conference quoted you afterwards, it's because you talk in soundbite and the key points of your speech are repetitive refrains. You repeat them. Good. What else have I said to you that might be useful?
You gave me the solution for a good marriage.
Oh, really? Here, me, a single woman, please do tell me.
Well, the real sale begins after the fact.
Ah, the real sale comes off the sale. Works in every situation. Wonderful. Anyone else want to tell me something that I said that might be useful to them? I cannot. There, thank you. This is my impersonation of Oprah Winfrey.
The answer is always no if you don't ask.
Wonderful, thank you. Now, how about something to structure a speech or make it more exciting? Is anyone good? Somebody is waving to me on the front row. Thank you.
You've got to have the structure in place before you can work on panache.
Wonderful, because it's very difficult to focus on that if you don't have in your mind knowing what you're going to say. Anyone over here that wants to tell me anything that I said that might be helpful to you?
The stories will help them remember your message.
Wonderful, which is a perfect transition into my next point. So remember, we have the structure, then we have the material. And what people will, of course, remember are the stories. Oh, I love it. Oh, good.
The best material we never put into our talks.
It's true. Don't you ever find you're sitting around and you say to your friends, do you ever say that in a speech? And they say no, and you say you should. And are you like me? Do you sometimes catch yourself saying, that's good, I should put it in a speech?
Yes.
Good. Rich, how do I pronounce that last name?
Reiner.
Well, you're a very smart man because you agree with me. So let's look at the material, especially stories. Just down the street is Hollywood. Screenwriter Robert McKee said, stories are the creative conversion of life itself into a more powerful, clearer, more meaningful experience. And an audience of 1 or 1,000 given the choice of hearing a trivial story well told or a brilliant story badly told would always take the trivial well told. Let's face it, in Toastmasters, we give a lot of short speeches. A short speech that's going to have a point, has to have some wisdom, but it's mostly designed around perhaps one story or example. Let me tell you about Ed. Ed was one of my clients who worked for The Gap. He came around one day and we had an hour and 20 minutes to help him design an 8-minute talk. So naturally, you know what I said. Ed, we don't have very much time. You need to do exactly what I tell you. First of all, who are you addressing? 500 Gap managers. What does a Gap manager look like? They're 26 to 28 years old. What is your subject? The program where we ask the employees to come up with ideas to save the company money. Right? How long do you have to speak? 8 minutes. Good. Where are you on the program? He said, 10:45, right after the coffee break. I said, well, the first thing you have to do is do not say good morning. Why? Because 5 other people already said good morning. And your audience will forgive you anything except being boring. And if you are too predictable, you will be boring. So I said, let us also look at the subtext. What is it you're saying that you're not saying? You just got promoted. In that 8-minute speech, you're going to prove if you deserve your promotion or have everyone wondering why. So this is what I want you to do. Walk on stage and say, we are here to talk about heroes. And you know, everybody laughed. And fortunately, he had enough sense to wait and let them laugh. We are here to talk about heroes. In 7 words, he just proved this isn't another dull corporate speech. They may be sitting behind you, they may be sitting in front of you, they may be you in the trenches, gap heroes. I said, Ed, tell me a story about someone who actually did something that saved the company money. And he gave me a page of statistics. I said, Ed, statistics aren't sexy. Numbers are numbing. Where's the sex and violence? Where's the made-for-television movie? So we called the accounting department and said, what is the story behind the statistics? One little guy worked in the mailroom. And one day he noticed he was sending 7 FedEx packets to the same location, same day, same thing inside, the company newsletter. And he thought, oh, I wonder how often we do this. Sell multiple things to the same location that aren't that important. Why don't I open them up, put them in one packet with a note to distribute the other end? Well, beyond that, he walked over the other guys and said, hey guys, just be aware. If you're sending multiple things to the same place, if they're not that important, put them in one. After all, we own stock in the Gap. We don't own stock in FedEx. That one idea saved the Gap $200,000. And I said, Ed, anytime you say something, especially to a young audience, you need to answer the questions they have in their mind. So what do you do with the money? $200,000 is 18 miles of shelving. It's another jean size we haven't invented. It's another month of the Gap rocks, the Gap jives, the Gap swing commercials. That's a very simple idea. I have ideas all the time. We know that's a very simple idea. You have ideas all the time, but do you write them up? Do you put them in the process so we can evaluate them? What's in it for me? And then you talk about the cash rewards, and we closed with a visual of big money and played David Bowie heroes. Wonderful. A perfect circle, a perfect connection, got people excited. And the thing I said, Ed, the story has to be so good that when the store managers go back to their stores and they say, well, how was the company meeting? They say, we heard a great story. And they can repeat it. They can repeat it with a lot of detail and hopefully get the people in their stores to say, well, hey, if a kid in the shipping room and the mail room can come up with an idea that simple, we should be able to. Well, as you know, you've got to practice your stories. I said, Ed, you got any kids at home? He said, yes, I got an 8-year-old daughter. I said, this is your homework. Go home and sit your daughter down and say, Daddy is going to tell you some stories about some interesting people he works with. And my goal for you is that you are so good that every night that your daughter hears you drive up, she runs up and says, Daddy, 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 tell me some more stories about those interesting people you work with. Because if you can enthrall an 8-year-old, there is a vague possibility you can keep the attention of 526 to 28-year-old Gap managers. So how do you practice the stories? How do you get the material? And I told you, a lot of it is just the stories we tell that it never occurs to us to put in a speech. But they're part of our repertoire. Very often when I coach executives, I get them to bring their wives along because the wives are always saying, tell her this story, tell her that. They are fed up with these stories, but they're saying, tell her that one.